Hello, everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we are tackling what's gotta be the ultimate, and I mean literally the ultimate, engineering project in human history. We are talking about the quest to actually replicate the human mind. How wild is that? We're going to explore this whole concept through the lens of an absolutely groundbreaking new paper called the State of Brain Emulation Report 2025. Penned by a brilliant team of researchers, Nicolo Zanelli, Maximilian Schans, Isaac Freeman, Philip Hsu, and Anton Arkhipov, this report provides a masterful, incredibly structured look at exactly where the science stands today. In 2025, it's a huge turning point. We are definitively shifting away from pure theoretical physics and slamming right into tangible, real-world engineering bottlenecks. So if you've ever sat around wondering how close we actually are to uploading or emulating a brain, well, buckle up. This is the definitive breakdown. Okay, let's dive into this. To really appreciate what the 2025 report brings to the table, we've got to rewind a bit and look at the history. Back in 2008, Anders Sandberg and Nick Bostrom dropped the original whole brain emulation roadmap. And man, it was visionary. It established the basic physical limits and basically laid down the foundational theory for how we might, eventually, pull this off. But as we all know, science moves ridiculously fast. Fast forward to 2025, and this brand new State of Brain Emulation report gives us a long-awaited, highly comprehensive reassessment. And it's totally grounded in our modern computational realities. So what we're looking at here is nearly 2 decades of scientific evolution. We've officially moved from asking, wait, is this even possible? To, okay, how do we actually build the thing? To make sense of all this, we're going to deconstruct the brain like a giant, wildly complex machine, following the exact structure the authors laid out. Here's our agenda for today. First, we'll look at the 2025 emulation blueprint. Then we'll hit Step 1, neural dynamics, followed by Step 2, connectomics, and Step 3, emulation and embodiment. Finally, we'll wrap up with roadblocks and strategic priorities. Let's get to it. Section 1, the 2025 emulation blueprint. The authors make their intentions super clear right from the jump. As the abstract states, the State of Brain Emulation Report 2025 provides a comprehensive reassessment of the field's progress. And I really want to emphasize that word, reassessment. This isn't just some casual minor update. It's a rigorous structural re-evaluation, totally triggered by the massive leaps we've seen in artificial intelligence, supercomputing power, and high-resolution scanning over the last 15 years. The scientific realities have fundamentally shifted, and this document essentially hands us the updated master plan for reverse engineering the mind. Now, what's really interesting about this is how the authors managed to distill an incredibly vast, complicated field down into just 3 core capabilities. Step 1 is recording brain function. Step 2 is mapping brain structure. And Step 3 is emulation and embodiment. And the reason they hyper-focus on these 3 specific things is because they represent the absolute minimum viable path, from squishy biological tissue to actual digital consciousness. Basically, everything in the modern science of brain emulation cascades directly from these 3 monumental pillars. Section 2. Step 1. Neural dynamics. So how exactly do we capture what a brain does in real time? Well, that brings us to the first critical pillar, capturing the brain in action. The report categorizes this massive scientific hurdle under the term neural dynamics, which is defined as the core capability of recording brain function. I mean, think about it. For a system packing roughly 86 billion neurons, we aren't just trying to figure out what it physically looks like. We need to observe it while it's actively computing. The report highlights exactly where our tools stand today, detailing our big transition from traditional fMRI to really cutting-edge stuff like high-density neural pixel probes and advanced voltage imaging. The ultimate goal here? Achieving cellular-level resolution of network activity, live in real time.
Let's move to Section 3 and see how this builds into our next step, Step 2, Connectomics.
You see, successfully recording all those neural dynamics we just talked about, it's kind of useless if we don't map the precise physical structure those signals are actually traveling through. So the authors define connectomics as the core capability of mapping brain structure. It's the physical wiring diagram required to map out the complex pathways of the mind. And we've seen some absolutely incredible state-of-the-art achievements lately, like mapping the complete synaptic-level wiring of a fly brain, plus ongoing partial maps of mouse brains. But the report lays bare the sheer, mind-boggling scale of escalating this to humans. We're talking about mapping hundreds of trillions of synapses. To put that into perspective, that requires generating and storing literal zettabytes of data. It's absolutely massive. But this connectomics piece, it's the ultimate wiring diagram we absolutely must have to recreate the mind. Section 4, Step 3, Emulation and Embodiment. So, the crucial point is, once you have the function and you have the structure, you arrive at this final step. The report identifies computational neuroscience as the core capability governing emulation and embodiment. This is where it all comes together. You're taking the biological data and bringing it to life computationally. But the embodiment part, that is what's truly fascinating here. The report makes it abundantly clear that a brain without sensory input or an environment to output to just can't function or be validated. An emulated mind absolutely requires a virtual or robotic body to interact with the world. It forms this closed-loop system that actually proves the digital model is working. It's not just a brain in a jar. It has to be connected to something.
And this brilliantly illustrates the complete equation as proposed by Zanichelli and his colleagues. When you successfully map the structure through Connectomics, record its live dynamics, and combine them using computational neuroscience, boom, that is the 2025 formula for achieving whole brain emulation. These aren't just isolated fields of study. They are the converging, driving forces behind the entire master plan.
But this brings up a rather glaring question. If the blueprint is so clearly defined across these three capabilities, and the math is this clear, why isn't it happening tomorrow? What is actually holding the field back? Well, it's time to pivot our narrative away from this pristine theoretical blueprint and take a hard look at the gritty reality of present-day science.
Section 5. Roadblocks and Strategic Priorities.
The authors of the 2025 report are well aware that theory just isn't enough, which is exactly why they shift focus to what's actively standing in our way. To truly move the field forward, they go way beyond just listing capabilities. The report explicitly identifies our technical bottlenecks and charts out the strategic priorities we need to bypass them. They highlight massive roadblocks. Take energy, for instance. A biological human brain runs on about 20 watts of power, incredibly efficient. But simulating 86 billion neurons computationally, that demands a truly vast amount of power. Then there are the physical limits of current electron microscopy, which right now is just too slow for human-scale mapping. And on top of that, we face immense surgical and preservation barriers. How do you extract intact neural tissue without degrading the exact same connectome you're trying to map? These are the real-world engineering problems the scientific community has to target next. When we zoom out and look at the evolution of the science, the contrast is incredibly clear. The 2008 roadmap was crucial because it gave us the vital permission to dream. It established the foundational theory of brain emulation as a serious scientific pursuit. But today, here in 2025, we're dealing with a mature scientific reality. We've moved past asking, is it theoretically possible? And we're finally asking, how do we actually overcome these specific engineering bottlenecks? The field has essentially grown up. We know exactly what capabilities are required, and we have a much clearer assessment of the practical, strategic hurdles we've got to defeat to get there. Which leaves us with one final, pretty profound thought to ponder. With this new 2025 blueprint in hand, laying out the exact steps of neural dynamics, connectomics, and computational neuroscience, when will we finally unlock the black box of the human brain? Because let's be real, solving these bottlenecks doesn't just mean eventually uploading minds into the cloud. It means unlocking unprecedented cures for neurological diseases and ultimately understanding the very nature of consciousness itself. Are we decades away, or is the timeline accelerating faster than we think? I highly encourage you to seek out the full State of Brain Emulation Report 2025 to explore the specific technical challenges that are going to define the future of human cognition. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.